All right, so here's this weird. Someone sent me this, and I found, interesting. It's from Reddit. This guy called Luca Magnotta. If you open up his profile, page not found, it doesn't exist on here anymore, so he probably canceled his account or whatever. Profile not found. I don't believe this for 1 second, and I'll tell you why when I get there. But people are starting to email, hey, what do you think about this, man? JSNet, man. I am a time traveler from the future here to beg you to stop what you are doing. And this is in relation to Bitcoin, he says. Posted 4 years ago, August 2013. Keeping in mind, you know what the price was way back when. I'm sending this message from the year 2025. Things are looking bleak here, and some of you will carry blood on your hands. If you don't believe me, please move on, as I have no way of proving to you I'm really who I claim to be. I don't want to waste any of your time, so I'm merely going to explain what happened. On average, every year so far, the value of Bitcoin has increased by about a factor of 10. From $0.1 in 2010 to $1 in 2011 to $10 in 2012 to $100 in 2013. From now on, there's a slight slowdown as the value increased by a factor 10 every 2 years to $1,000 in 2015, $10,000 in 2017, $100,000 in 2019, and $1 million in 2021. Now, I got to stop for a second. Because we're going to go through that and take a little look-see. So we're going to go back to 2013. And it was, in fact, $100 and something. However, he made the comment in 2013, August. So in all fairness, he's talking about $100 something during a time period when it was, in fact, $100 something. So that doesn't count. But then he says it increased by a factor of about 10 every 2 years to $1,000 in 2015. So if you look at 2015, it enters at $300, $314, 200, 250, 250, 230, 220, close to 300, never touches 300. Now we're at the end of 2015. It's 385, 326, 360, 370, 416 by December. Now we're in the 400s. And now we're in January, 400s of 2016, January 2016. To be off that far, if you're from the future, you would have easily been able to tell what the price was, right? I mean, easily. But he did say, in all fairness, got to give credit where credit's due. In all fairness, he did say 2017, it'll be $10,000. That's an interesting number, considering we are now firmly at and slightly above even $10,000. But he got the 2015 one so wrong, it wasn't even kind of close. So the next one that he gave us that we could even verify if this guy's real or not was 2017. He never mentioned 2016. He mentioned 2015 only. And then $100,000 in 2019 and $1 million in 2021. Let me just say this. Maybe he was off a little bit. If this happens as he said, count how many Bitcoin you have in your possession at the moment. $1 million in 2021? Whoa. But epic fail in the first year that we can really see what this guy's made of. 2015, the best it got was a little over $400 at the very end of the year. Same with 2017. The very end of the year, it finally hit $10,000. But that you could look at and say, well, hey, this guy's pretty accurate. But he failed miserably on 2015. So now what he's saying, because he's doing every 2 years, like he said, 2019 is the next year. We're going to have to wait till all 2018, 2019 to see if the guy's right. No, not buying it. However, it's still an interesting read, and that's why I want to read it to you. Continuing on. This is a Reddit post. I'll link this just in case you want to check it out. There are just over, let me back up, 2019 and $1 million in 2021. From here onward, there's no good way of expressing its value in dollars, as the dollar is no longer used nor is any central bank issue currency for that matter. There are two main forms of wealth in today's world: land and cryptocurrency. Now he's saying this is by his year 2025. That's not very far from now. John Teeter, on the other hand, remember what he said, I'm here from 2032. And John Teeter did not express anything like this. And if you look at a lot of the stuff John Teeter said, you can verify, man, he did say that, it happened. Hey, he said that too, and that happened. But then there's other ones that haven't, right? There are just over 19 million Bitcoin known to be used in the world today. So what, remember the 21 million is the total cap. But perhaps, because it's becoming extremely high, harder and harder to mine, people just gave up. It doesn't, whatever cost, it takes too long, equipment. There's 19 million in the world at that point, okay? Anyways, 19 million Bitcoin known to be used in the world today, as well as a few 100,000 that were permanently lost. And we're still dealing with a population of just over 7 billion people today. On average, this means the average person who owns just under 0.003 Bitcoin. However, due to the unequal distribution of wealth in my world, the mean person owns just 0.001 Bitcoin. That's right, most of you reading this today are rich. I personally lived next to an annoying young man who logged into his old Reddit account 2 years ago and discovered that he received a tip of 0.01 Bitcoin back in 2013 for calling someone a gay word that starts with an F, when he was a 16-year-old boy. Upon making this discovery, he bought an airline ticket, left his house without telling anyone anything, and went to a citadel. What is a citadel? You might wonder, well, by the time Bitcoin became worth $1,000, services began to emerge for the Bitcoin rich to protect themselves as well as their wealth. Now let's think about that. By the time it was worth $1,000, which he said, again, was 2015, $1,000, 2015, which was wrong. It was $500. We're past 1,000 now anyways. 2017 is 10,000. Is there anything where services that you guys know of, services began to emerge for the Bitcoin rich to protect themselves as well as their wealth? It started with expensive safes, then began to include bodyguards, and today, earlies, which are our term for early adapters or adopters, as well as those rich whose wealth survived the transition, live in isolated gated cities called citadels. Am I pronouncing that right? Citadels? Where most work is automated. Most such citadels are born out of fortification. I gotta look this up. Is that right? Board game. Citadels board game. Amazon. German style game designed by Bruno, whatever, originally published in French. It's a core fortified area of a town or city. Citadels. Alright, whatever. Most of these are born out of the fortification used to protect places where Bitcoin mining machines are located. The company known as ASIC Miner to you is known to me as a city where Mr. Friedman rules as a king. In my world, soon to be your world, most governments no longer exist, as Bitcoin transactions are done anonymously, and thus most governments can enforce no taxation on their citizens. Most of the success of Bitcoin is due to the fact that Bitcoin turned out to be an effective method to hide your wealth from the government, whereas people entering rogue states like Luxembourg, Monaco, or Liechtenstein were followed by unmanned drones to ensure that governments know who is hiding wealth. No such option was available to stop people from hiding their money in Bitcoin. Governments tried to stay relevant in my society by buying Bitcoin, which just made the problem worse by increasing the value of Bitcoin. Governments did so in secret, of course, but my generation's Snowdens are, in fact, greedy government employees who transferred Bitcoin to their own private account and escaped to anarchic, which that's what he words it, places where no questions are asked as long as you can cough up some money. The four institutions with the largest still accessible Bitcoin balance are believed to be as following: ASIC Miner, 50 million Bitcoins; the IMF's Currency Stabilization Fund, 70,000 Bitcoins; government of Saudi Arabia 110,000 Bitcoin, and the North Korean government at 180,000 Bitcoin. Economic growth today is about 2% per year. Why is this? If you own more than 0.01 Bitcoin, chances are you don't do anything with your money. There is no inflation, and thus no incentive to invest your money. Just like the medieval ages had no significant economic growth, as wealth was measured in gold, our society has no economic growth either, as people know their 0.01 Bitcoin will be enough to last them a lifetime. The fact that there are still new Bitcoin released is what prevents our world from collapse so far, it seems. But people fear that the decline in inflation that will occur during the next block halving may occur or may further wreck our economy. What happened to the Winklevoss twins? The Winklevoss twins were among the first to die. After seeing their enormous damage done to the fabric of society, terrorist movements emerged that sought to hunt down and murder anyone known to have a large balance of Bitcoin, or believed to be responsible in any way for the development of cryptocurrency. Ironically, these terrorist movements use Bitcoin to anonymously fund their operations. Most people who own any significant amount of Bitcoin no longer speak to their families and lost their friends because they had to change their identities. There have been also a few suicides of people who could not handle the guilt after seeing what happened to the bag holders, type of skeptical people who continued to believe it would eventually collapse even after hearing the rumors of governments buying Bitcoin. Many people were taken hostage, and thus it is suspected that 25% of Bitcoin rich actually physically tortured someone to get him to spill his password. And there's a little bit more to this. I'll link it. I'm just getting a few emails on it. That's why I'm reading this to you. If I had a BS flag, I would be raising it with two hands as fast as possible. Ring, 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 ring. And a little extra top. Ing, ing, ing. Raising the BS flag on that one. You would not have missed the price of Bitcoin in 2015 by half of what it got. More than half, actually. Or actually, less than half of what it was. If you're just a few short years away from now, right? You follow me? So you come across this, write it off as BS. FUD. Take care.